Today, let's talk about a man whose name is, well, pretty much the definition of genius. But what if I told you this world-changing figure was once considered just an ordinary kid, maybe even a little slow? This is the amazing story of how a quiet boy grew up to completely reshape our understanding of the entire universe.
It's a wild thought, isn't it? The journey from a supposedly unremarkable child to the architect of modern physics is one of the most incredible stories in science. And believe me, it all starts in the most unlikely of places.
All right, so let's rewind the clock and go back to the very beginning, because for Albert Einstein, his start in life gave absolutely no clue about the monumental figure he was about to become.
He was born in Ulm, Germany, and as a kid, he was really quiet and kept to himself. In fact, he started talking so late that his parents were genuinely worried about him. By all outward appearances, he was just a regular kid, definitely not showing those flashy signs of a prodigy we always hear about.
And here's where the story gets really good. Look at this contrast. On one side, you have a teacher who pretty much wrote him off, just saw a boy who didn't like memorizing facts. And on the other, well, that's the mind that would literally unlock the secrets of space, time, and the very fabric of reality. You think that refusal to just memorize stuff wasn't a flaw at all. It was his superpower. It freed up his mind to ask why, to run these incredible thought experiments, and to imagine the universe in a way nobody else ever had.
So what was the spark? What lit that fire in this quiet boy's mind? Well, it turns out it wasn't some complicated math problem or a fancy book. It was a simple, everyday object.
He was just 5 years old. Imagine that. He was sick in bed, and his dad showed him a simple magnetic compass. This small, tiny device would end up igniting a passion that would literally change the course of human history. And this was the question that just totally gripped him. I mean, he couldn't see anything pushing or pulling that needle, but it still moved with this purpose, always pointing north. He was just captivated by the idea that there were these unseen forces at play all around us, a deep and mysterious order hidden just beneath the surface.
And that moment, that became the bedrock of his genius. It wasn't just some passing curiosity. It grew into a lifelong obsession. He was driven by this relentless need to understand the why behind everything, and that's the very thing that would fuel all of his future breakthroughs.
So how did this intense curiosity actually turn into scientific discovery? Well, after finishing his studies, Einstein's path wasn't exactly what you'd expect. He wasn't immediately snapped up by some prestigious university. No, instead, he found himself in a quiet, unassuming job that, believe it or not, gave him the one thing he needed most: time to think.
It's almost hard to believe, right? The guy who would go on to redefine physics was working as a patent clerk in Bern, Switzerland. His day job was to look at other people's inventions, but in his spare time, his mind was wrestling with the biggest ideas in the universe.
And then came 1905. Historians call it his annus mirabilis, his miracle year. In just 12 months, this unknown patent clerk published 4 papers that just detonated in the world of physics. He explained how light could act like a particle, a discovery so big it would eventually win in the Nobel Prize. He provided the first real proof that atoms actually exist, and he unleashed his theory of special relativity on the world. It was an intellectual explosion like nothing anyone had ever seen before.
And of course, tucked away in those papers was this, the world's most famous equation. This simple little formula reveals a profound cosmic truth that mass and energy are really just two sides of the same coin. A tiny bit of matter can be turned into a huge amount of energy. It's the principle that powers everything from nuclear reactors to the stars themselves.
But Einstein wasn't done. Not even close. That miracle year was just the warm-up for his greatest masterpiece, the general theory of relativity. An idea so revolutionary, it honestly sounds like something straight out of science fiction. For centuries, we all just assumed that time was constant. Like a river flowing at the same speed for everyone, everywhere. Einstein just completely turned that idea on its head. He proposed that time is relative. The faster you move through space, the slower you actually move through time.
And it wasn't just time he was messing with. He totally reimagined space itself, not as this empty void, but as a dynamic, flexible fabric. He called it space-time. The best way to picture it is like a giant, stretchy trampoline sheet that can be bent and curved.
And this is where it all comes together. So, what is gravity? It's not some mysterious force just pulling things down. According to Einstein, massive objects like the sun literally create a deep curve, a dip, in that fabric of space-time. So planets like Earth aren't being pulled by the sun, they're just following the curve. He didn't just explain gravity, he gave us a completely new reality.
So why does any of this stuff still matter to us today? Well, Einstein's legacy isn't just locked away in some dusty old textbooks. His mind-bending ideas are actually built into the technology we use every single day.
Take the GPS in your phone, for example. That's a direct application of relativity. It only works because the satellites orbiting way up above Earth have to account for the fact that time is literally ticking just a tiny bit faster for them than it is for us down here. Without Einstein's equations, your map would be off by miles every single day. From the precision of lasers to the promise of atomic energy and our entire modern map of the cosmos, it's all powered by his curiosity.
But his legacy is also a moral one. After seeing his work indirectly lead to the atomic age, Einstein became a really passionate voice for peace and disarmament. He felt this deep responsibility, arguing that our incredible scientific power has to be guided by our humanity.
And this quote, this one probably sums him up best. For Einstein, knowledge was a tool, sure, but imagination was the engine. It was his ability to ask, what if, to run thought experiments about what it would be like to ride on a beam of light that allowed him to see the universe in a way no one ever had before.
Which really brings us to the final thought. Einstein showed us that a simple question born from pure curiosity can change everything. He proved that you don't need a prestigious title or a fancy lab to have a revolutionary idea. So, the question he kind of leaves for all of us is this: what unseen forces are you curious about, and what mysteries will your imagination unlock?